Hi everyone and welcome to Streamr Live first video AMA. My name is Amandine and I am Streamr's community manager, and I'm really excited to be here today with Shiv Malik, our head of communication.
Hi.
So we are here today to answer your question. You ask us many questions on Reddit and on Twitter, hashtag StreamerAMA, and we try to answer as many questions as possible today. If you have questions, you can of course put some questions on the comment section or also on Twitter. So, Shiv, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I was also going to say just a great big thank you to everyone in our community for not just joining us now, but for supporting us through the last sort of 7 months. I think it's been since the crowdfunding, right?
Yeah, crazy 7 months.
Yeah, it really has been, and we really can't build a sort of a decentralized network without our community. So thank you very much. And I was also going to say that a lot of you have asked sort of technical questions. We're not going to be dealing with those today. I'm not, Henry, and I'm not one of the developers, so it's probably best left for another moment. We will schedule that moment soon, no doubt. And obviously, this is itself a bit of a test run to see whether we can do live streaming. It turns out it's very difficult. If you've been waiting for the last 15 minutes, you'll know that it can go wrong at a moment's notice. So fingers crossed, it'll be fine.
Yes, but if you have a technical question, you can always join the Rocket chat where our developers hang out regularly.
That's right.
So they will answer to you if you ask anything technical there. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. As I said, we had many questions, so I'm going to start with one question that has been asked on Reddit from VWay12. Sorry for the pseudo, by the way. I'm sure I'm going to, say some of them wrong. So the first questions are related to the marketplace. And the first question is the first version of the marketplace open for all participants or just for business partners? If it's just for partners, when do you think an open for everyone version can start? And before you answer that, I also have another related question that you might want to combine and answer in the same time from Ethereum CPW, who asked for how many entities have shown serious interest in the marketplace in becoming a buyer, but also selling the data, and if you can say anything, of course, about this.
Yeah, let me take the first question first then. Yes, the marketplace will be open in essence to everyone. Obviously, onboarding as a vendor of data is a bit of a technical process. We're trying to make that easier with every improvement. Those things aren't easy to do at the moment, or they're just a little bit technical. So Henry's actually putting out a blog post, I think, in the next coming days, helping people to onboard in that sort of sense. In terms of actually using the marketplace, yeah, I think it will be entirely usable. We've had this debate inside, and our chief design officer, Matt Innes, is very much in favor of ensuring that everyone, absolutely everyone, can use the marketplace, and it isn't just for people who have special developer skills. Remind me of the second question again.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the question is about the companies already interested in putting the data through the marketplace. Do we have any serious interest from buyers and from sellers? And can we also talk more about it?
Talking about our partner announcements before they're actually announced is always really difficult, right? I think the answer to that is very much yes. I know what's coming down the line, and it is really exciting. We've got these sort of 3 fields, or a couple of fields that we want to sort of cover in the marketplace. First of all, there's the thing about how getting sellers and buyers matched up. Now, that's quite difficult because obviously buyers don't want to buy anything if they can't see what's being sold, and so you have to have the sellers there first. But then the sellers don't necessarily want to come along unless there's buyers. So that's a bit of a it's about doing business right and getting make sure everyone's sort of feeling confident about this. And it's step-by-step iterations of improvement, if you want. So we know that there are definitely going to be vendors, and we've encouraged buyers to come along. We're hoping to see volumes on day one of data being traded, and obviously that will improve. The launch is just the first moment of that. But the other point about the different types of data that people are going to be selling, That's also quite interesting because, you know, we've got stuff from, if you want, the factory floor. So we've got a business-to-business vending relationship. We've got ordinary people getting involved in a sense using their Ruby sensors. That's one thing we've already announced. And we're going to have other iterations of that. And then the other side is the sort of IoT space and people using their IoT devices, whether that's a smart car or something else, in a sort of a different way. And that's about getting very ordinary people to be able to use this. And we've got some interesting stuff to announce on that front in the next couple of months.
So I guess we will hear more from this side when we will be able to announce actually all the partnerships and all the use cases, right?
Yeah, actually, can I go into a little bit more detail? I know
Go ahead.
Amandine's always telling me off for rambling. She's like, don't ramble.
No, go ahead.
Well, we've got this very interesting pollution project. It was mentioned in one of our previous videos, but we haven't given any detail yet. It's not quite the right moment to do that. But that's about galvanizing a community in London, I can tell you that much, to not just host pollution monitors, but also for parents in that area to be able to buy that information back and subscribe to that information. Now, if we can make Streamr work for them, we can probably do it for anyone. I think that's so. This is really a fascinating project, and we'll be telling and talking more about that in the next couple of weeks, or months, I should say, just in case.
Just in case. So now you said a lot now. So we had lots of questions about the marketplace itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Many of them. So I'll try just to pick a few because we can, say again and again, ask questions, expect the entire AMA on the marketplace just itself. We have many other questions.
Of course.
But one question that have been asked several times is about the conversion exchange in fiat into the marketplace. So I have a question right now from Jizadub, who asks, will Streamr be doing anything to aid in the conversion exchange of fiat currencies to data coin and vice versa inside the marketplace? Or will buyers and sellers have to exchange data coin elsewhere prior to purchasing Streamr data within the marketplace?
So that's a great question, and one that I think the whole space has been struggling with those kinds of questions. It's not easy, and Streamr can't simply be the sort of the project that solves it for everyone else. That's not necessarily our job, but obviously we're dealing with that right now. Let me answer, if you want, another question that had come up previously before getting into the details of this one, which is that all transactions on the marketplace will be carried out in data. So they might be pegged to USD or something else, but they will be transacted in data. So you can't use dollars if you want or something else to do that. So that's a good thing because we're sticking to our roadmap. Obviously, we're obviously giving a utility to Datacoin, which is amazing on lots of different fronts. But more than that, we're obviously able then to do microtransactions, which is really key. To get into this, how will we aid people in being able to do this? Well, some of that's obviously, actually a lot of that is a technical answer, but we're using things like MetaMask and those kinds of solutions to be able to make that as easy as possible. Again, our chief design officer is all about the easiest kind of interface, and he's on top of this every single day, making sure that we really strip down that process.
Okay. And I think it's also answer some of the questions previously asked in the different channels about the accessibility of the marketplace itself. We also mentioned in the previous AMA we did it on Reddit a few months ago. We mentioned a reputation system, and we have someone asking about this reputation system, and is it going to be available and ready for the first version of the marketplace, or is it something we're going to have later on?
It's something we're going to have later on. We definitely need a reputation system, and at the moment it's if you're building a decentralized network, then what you don't want to be doing is constantly hand moderating, because you can't really in the end people's behavior on a marketplace like this. But when we start, and as we start, that is going to be the case. So we're going to promote certain streams which we think are good quality, and they'll just be higher up in the marketplace. And we're going to ensure that people who, in a sense, misbehave in one way or another, abuse people's licenses, will obviously be removed. Now, making that system decentralized is actually pretty difficult. But yes, the reputation system will be based on a mixture of the community itself chipping in to give people, stars or whatever it is, and say, and recommend that people are sort of decent participants in this marketplace. The kind of thing that you see on, review systems on TripAdvisor or Airbnb. So we use those mechanisms alongside other mechanisms, and I think making sure that all comes together is really key. So they won't be yet. The reputation system won't be ready from day one. And I know that our partners, Gollum, as well, and lots of other people have struggled with this kind of a thing. But it will be something that we're working towards very shortly or soon.
Okay, that's definitely a complete answer. Well, I have also a question about the marketplace. I'm thinking maybe we can break down with a complete different question that is also really exciting, and that is about consensus. And it's quite related to the marketplace actually, because we're going to launch there. But the big question is, what are we going to do at consensus exactly?
there's so many things that we're doing, in a sense. So let me start with the keynote speech. So Henry, okay, I'll let you into a little bit of a secret. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. Amandine's getting very nervous now.
I am, yes.
At one point back in, I think, February or late February, Consensus weren't interested in having Henry on the stage at all. So we kind of had to convince them what we were about, what Streamr was, and that we had something genuine to say. And we managed to pull it back after about a month. They were like, okay, we'll have you. We don't know where we're going to put you. And then, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, they finally confirmed, yes, Henry will be on the main stage. And so they were really convinced about, it's one thing to have the pavilion, and we'll get onto what's in there in a second. But it's another thing for the conference organizers to say, yes, you can come on our main stage. So they found faith in us. They know what's coming. Obviously, you don't know everything about what's coming, but our partners are also going to be joining us on stage. It's going to be an interesting panel discussion with them. And they obviously are fascinated to come and wanted to actually partner with us, partly because they realized we were doing this big thing at Consensus. So it's really, helped galvanize everyone around a deadline, bring people together, ensure that our partners are on board, and made sure that the rest of the team sort of delivers. It's a great deadline because you just have to be ready. There's no way you can't be ready. So it's like, it's like putting on a play. You've got an audience there. You've got to show up with the goods. So that's the main keynote speech. Then we've got the pavilion. The pavilion is awesome. I mean, Amandine,
I saw some pictures and some images and first draft, and it was already like, wow. So I can't wait to really show it.
Yeah, I mean, I flew to London on Friday, and I looked at the sort of final designs. They're going into production now. Again, the Consensus organizers themselves are like, this is awesome. Which is nice to know, because you don't know whether you're really at the top of your game or not when it comes to doing these things, unless other people validate that. So that's nice. They're impressed with what we're doing. We've got the plans are, I think, already online. We've blogged about it. We've got our various demonstrations, including the we'll just call it the Audi demonstration. Tantalizingly, we're not partnering with Audi, but you'll find out more about that soon. We've got
pollution one that you already started mentioning. That's
yes.
Also in the black past.
That's right. And then we've also got our robot demonstration, which is to tie in with explaining how Streamr can really help those businesses sort of take data from the factory floor, if you want, and share that around with other businesses.
But obviously, we're not going to unveil everything that's going to be on our pavilion right now, because then there will be any surprise. So we are going to keep still some surprises.
Yeah, yes, Amandine staring at me right now, telling me to shut up and not say too much. But we've also we might even have a few more major surprises up our sleeves. We're sort of working out the final details. I don't want to overpromise, but there's something very exciting potentially on the agenda. But there's lots more to come. As for context, why are we doing Consensus? I mean, It's a big spend. It's also involves getting the whole company galvanized. I think we're doing it because it puts us on the main stage, both literally and metaphorically. Thousands of people are showing up to the event from around America, from around Europe. Thousands of people, tens of thousands of people potentially online. 2018 is a really big year for blockchain. The event itself is going live. So this is all about showing what people can do. And we wanted to be part of that. I didn't think we'd want to miss out on that at all. So we're right at the heart of it. Right at the heart of it. And it's really exciting.
It is. And I really hope to see the community also involved at Consensus, like meeting the community in real life at Consensus, but also online, because every time there is a Consensus every year, and in the past years, the live stream bring lots of people and lots of activity and lots of discussion with the community. So hopefully we'll see you everyone there online.
Yeah, and we're not stopping there, obviously, but we can talk about that later. But it's a great moment to meet all the other players in the space, and for them to start to go, oh right, Streamr's a really big deal. We've got the biggest pavilion, pretty much. Yeah, that's right. We've got the biggest pavilion at the show at Consensus. We're right next to Ripple, and we can hold our own. More than that, we'll I think surpass expectations.
For sure. So, as you said, there is an after Consensus, right? So we have a few questions about that from our Chinese community, actually. So a different question. The first one is, what is our plan for after Consensus? But also, if we have any collaboration coming, especially with influencers, and also the last question from the Chinese community is if we want to be more involved in growing the community in China. So it's 3 questions, but I think it links really well with your previous answer. So
so look, reaching out to other communities around the world is really important, because if you want to be a global project, you can't just be stuck to the English-speaking world. But it's always a challenge for any startup to sort of get those resources going and find good people. That's not easy. Lots of people come knocking at our sort of metaphorical door through email saying, we'll do this, we'll do that. Here's our Ethereum address. Just send us loads of ETH, and we'll be on our way. You don't know whether these people are genuine or not, what the quality of the work that they're going to do. Whether they really believe in what you're doing, or they just want the money. And in most cases, that's just true. They just want the money, and so it's difficult. However, it's more than step by step. I think the reason why we brought Wei on, for example, as our community moderator, is he speaks Chinese. That's one of the reasons. He's also excellent at answering questions and covering for us when we're not online, like now, for example. We sort of started to reach out to, if you want, the right kind of players. Again, going to Consensus is going to be a great moment because we can really cement those relationships. Meeting face to face is really important, saying, okay, I trust you. Which is ironic, obviously, for using the Ethereum platform, which is all about a lack of trust in a sense. But it still matters. Here's some news for after Consensus. We haven't planned this, but it's sort of out there if people wanted to know. We're sponsoring TechCrunch. In fact, we're the title sponsor for TechCrunch's big event in Zug on July the 6th. And they've just announced earlier today that Vitalik will be speaking there. So that'll be for, I think it's about 600 people, maybe more, in Zug on, as I said, in July 6th. That's going to be a great moment again for Streamr to really talk to people inside Zug, aka sort of Crypto Valley, but also the people flying in, especially for that event. Again, it's about cementing our position within the space and also getting our message out to a broader group of people.
Yes, and that's just one of the events, but we are also going to be present at other events, so we will announce them as we get closer to the date, obviously.
That's right. We've already booked in for a few other events already. And we're looking forward to announcing those and doing that properly. This was a bit of an off-the-cuff announcement there. So there you go. It's a bit of an exclusive for everyone listening in.
at the risk of doing a live video where you may
Yeah, that's
just
right.
speak and yes. Okay, so big plans for after consensus too.
And it's not just, by the way, the Chinese community, it's also the Korean community. We've got really good contacts there, and we're going to start that as soon as consensus is done.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what about the partnerships? Because we are going to, we already announced a few partners, and I have a few questions here, one for Oknarb and one for Cryptomaniac. So they ask about, do you have data buyers and sellers on your own disclosed partnership portfolio? And do you have other partners to reveal, or have they all been revealed already? So I guess you already start mentioning that we are going to have other partners, and many of them that are going to be unveiled really soon.
We've got at least 5 other partnerships to announce and reveal. So I hope, when we said we've got 6+ partnerships, I think that was 3 partnerships ago. I hope I've got the maths right on this one.
I think that's, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
yes.
I think so.
So I don't want to start counting these out loud in case I make a mistake. But yeah, we've definitely got stuff in the coming weeks that amounts to about 5. So and they just keep getting, I think, for me, more fascinating. We're reserving some of our larger global partners then to announce in and around consensus, but we're not very far from that now. Obviously, we're 3 weeks away. So yes, we've absolutely got other partners. Data buyers and sellers. So yes, and these are, we'll be honest, most of them are vendors, but one partner who potentially brings a lot to the table will have both sides of the market. It's the vendors who always come to you first. We want to sell something because Streamr offers them a new market, a new way of doing data differently, and that's really important for them. And then we hope, really, when you've got that kind of volume, when you walk, it's like walking into a shop, right? You walk into a shop and there's lots of stuff there. You think, okay, great, I'll pick out. This is a place where I can do my, my shopping, my weekly shopping. So we've got to make sure that it looks full first. I think that's really key in ensuring that, when other people come along, whether they be developers or researchers or whomever, those people say, okay, here's my one-stop shop for data. That's what really we're trying to do. But yes, one of those partners also brings potentially a lot of other buyers to the table.
Staying on the partnership, we have ZXB. This one is really hard to pronounce. ZXB, I guess, that is asking about, since many partners of Streamr are from Finland, as well as the Streamr Lab HQ, do you guys plan to be more visible mainstream in Finland? Are there any media articles about Streamr in Finnish? And is there a particular industry that Streamr focusing on? So I guess maybe also related to Finland or not. Maybe 2 questions.
Yeah, okay. So on the Finnish media front, we recently had, I think, the March edition of Forbes Finland was about, not about Streamr, but about, as they put it, ICOs and crowdfunding. And we were part of that centerfold article. So Henry had a big, his picture there and a big splash. So that was one piece of media. We've done a few other things. And I think a lot of our contacts as well, naturally, there's lots of Finnish tie-ups. So Ruby has a Finnish heritage. VTT has a Finnish heritage, is obviously a Finnish institution. So a lot of that is sort of coming together on that front too. So we're not, abandoning Finnish roots by any means, but we're also, on the other hand, a global company now. We've got people from, Way is from America, right? He lives in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've got America, Australia, Europe, all over Europe, and I think so we're missing parts of Asia and Africa. But that's it. Our team comes from pretty much everywhere, and we work in all those time zones as well, which can become very difficult at times.
Busy, crazy sometimes,
Yeah, especially if you're in the middle, because you have to be awake for Australia in the morning, and then taking calls in America in the evening.
But it's also exciting to have people from different backgrounds and
of course.
Yes.
It's all about people bringing different skills to the table, able to do all sorts of things in a sense, and making sure we're really bringing in genuine talent from around the world. And we are, and I'm really, Henry will be doing transmissions later this week, so it'll be coming out, and he'll be announcing a few more hires in there.
Fantastic. So we're going to wait for the transmission video.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm slightly giving away. Well, we know it's coming.
We know it's coming.
Every month.
Yes,
yeah.
everyone has a date and the calendar.
26th,
So,
yeah.
Okay. So I have an interesting question here that was kind of already answered previously, including in our FAQ. But I found this question more detailed here, so I'd like to ask it to you.
Okay.
It's about competition. So the question is, does Streamr recognize that we are in competition with IOTA? In this case, how is Streamr going to differentiate itself from the likes of IOTA? And I have a few different points that have been explained by this person asking for the IOTA scalability because of the technical technology, and this person is asking about Ethereum platform that recently was about to handle the CryptoKitties, for example, and how Streamr scalability face this. So I let you.
So IOTA does what it does, and I think they have, it's hard to avoid this, but they have faced criticism on a technical front from lots of different parties and players. I think how they have dealt with that is also really important. It says something about it says something about the character of your community. Whether you are gracious in receiving criticism, or whether you see it as every bit of criticism as an attack. And, so I'll leave that for people to judge. On the technical side, but let's also give them credit. They've been around for a long time, and all projects have technical issues. That always comes up. But again, it's how you deal with those kinds of things that really matter. Whether you're open, you're honest, you're gracious, you invite people to make that criticism and make it well and encourage it. I think those are all the things that I think we want Streamr to be. There'll inevitably be tough times ahead, technically speaking. We are just starting down that road. On scalability, look, everyone always asks us about the scalability of the Ethereum network. Well, look, IOTA has promised a lot on the scalability front, so let those promises come about. That would be great for everyone. That'd be great for the entire space if that happens. Ethereum is functioning now, and it's functioning decently. As I said, everyone has scalability issues. The good news is that we only use Ethereum for those sort of vital issues like payments. We don't use it. I think Henry's genius in the architecture, it's Henry and the rest of the dev team, is to say, look, what's really vital? What do you actually need to put on a blockchain and therefore replicate 1,000 times over in computers around the globe? And the answer is not the data, right? Why do you want just gigabytes and gigabytes of data recorded on computers over and over again everywhere? It's just, that doesn't make any sense, especially if it's real-time data, because the beauty of real-time data is that it's useful in the real time and not as archive, right? And yes, people can archive what they want and keep that and pull on it for a later date, but they can do that on their own. Our peer-to-peer network is supposed to be just a delivery mechanism. We don't need to record all of that. We won't record all of it. We don't want to record all of it. We don't think you need to record all of it. So it's really simple. When it comes to payments and making payments, that's what we use the blockchain for. That's what's sensible. And, and finally, we're sort of blockchain agnostic. We won't lie about that. It'll take a lot of work to rewrite everything for for a different network like, say, EOS or NEO, but we can do it. We can do it, and that's what's really key.
Okay, so I have also two other parts of this question about the transaction fee. So as Streamr needs Ethereum and Ethereum needs gas, and also the other part of the question is about control. As IOTA is running its own chain, is the fact that we don't have our own chain change anything for control?
Okay, let me answer that one. I think that question's misplaced. having your own chain is not really about having more control. These projects are supposed to be decentralized, and I'm not sure how IOTA would answer this. So I'm not going to answer it for them in a sense, but having our own chain wouldn't give us more control. What we want it to be is open and to use tools that people are already using. That kind of makes the most sense. Why try and squeeze everyone into your own box? The world's had enough of that, right? That's why we're open source. We're open source so people can use us openly, right? And integrate what they want. And it's why we partner with someone like Ruby, for example, because it really works. They have companies coming to them going, okay, right, we don't have to fit into your bespoke, tailored world of, software sensors. We can use it and we can make it into what we want. And we know that even if you disappear, this, open source software will still be there because it's open source. We can just use it. So that's the kind of attitude we've got, right? It's like, make the world not try and fit to you, but try and fit into what's already working, right?
Okay, thank you. We also have other questions that are quite of actuality, and one of them is about GDRP. We haven't commented that much online. We have posted a few things, but haven't made any statement online for now. So we have a question on that from Wen Moon, who was asking about what opportunities implication does the introduction of GDPR on May 25th present to Streamr?
So we are going to be GDPR compliant. As everyone will know, we're still a centralized version of what we want to be. Maybe we can come to a question about that later on. And Henry recently gave a talk in London about how to go from a sort of semi-centralized product to a decentralized one. So that was something that kind of really filled in the technical detail. However, there is a special issue for GDPR and blockchain. And no one actually, I think, to be fair to everyone, like no one really knows the answer to this because the legislation was written before blockchain as a technology was sort of widely known about at all. This is stuff that was legislated for a couple of years ago, if not more. So, how do you allow people the right to delete their data from a blockchain? I mean, that goes against what a blockchain is for, right? Sort of not just immutability, but sort of recording things forever and eternity. So those answers actually aren't clear. What is clear is that GDPR was written to give, and this is where Streamr comes in particularly, GDPR was written to give people back data control, right? So the problem with that is that people don't really own their data currently. So you have to have legislation to step in and to give them some kind of false ownership in a sense by saying, okay, look, yes, we know that the big companies like Facebook and Amazon, they own your data, but actually you can ask for it back from them and you can delete it. And who wants to do any of that? This is the technological fix, right? It's what Streamr is providing to the world is that technological fix to GDPR, right? Legislation won't really work for us, but this will, where people can go, okay, look, I own the data. I can therefore transfer it to anyone that I want, when I want, and get paid for it. That's a proper fix to the problem. So in a sense, we hope to make GDPR redundant quite soon.
You mentioned that we also have regular question about the network and when it's going to be decentralized. And actually, I have a full question on that from Oknob that actually asks several questions here, really interesting questions. So
I love people's handles on Reddit, right? They're always even mine is like strange. I can't remember why. It's like an old band name, but anyway, sorry.
Well, I know yours, yeah.
Yeah, SMM Blue, so
yes. Hard to find, hard to recognize.
Yeah.
So actually, he or she asked us several questions about the marketplace and the network. So the first one is about how much data will the network be able to stream at the time of the marketplace launch. And the second one is about the decentralization. So when we get to decentralization, the amount of data will depend on the number of nodes and the connection So how smooth will be the switch from an established centralized network to a decentralized network?
Okay. I think some of those questions are a bit too technical in a sense. I know that Henry has been having lots of conversations with a little bit with me, but with other people on the team about how much data we can actually handle at the moment. In a sense, our slogan is sort of no transaction is too small and no amount of data will be too big. I'm not sure we're going to live up to it quite yet. If we got hammered with the world's data, we wouldn't be able to handle it. That's certainly true, and no one could. So building that decentralized network is actually really key to scalability. That's our real sort of scalability fix, if you want, right? Create a decentralized network where computers around the world are pitching in to help transport this data, in effect, from producers of data to the people who want it. I know that the volumes are significant that we can handle. Henry said to me we can handle about 100 times more than we are currently, but I don't have a base figure, so that isn't going to be helpful to anyone. But that gives you gives us some room for maneuver if we get a lot more partners all of a sudden wanting to take us up on our offer of the marketplace. So we should be fine on that front, generally speaking.
And I guess we also need to take into consideration the usability, right? Because
yes,
how people are going to handle that much data.
Right, and again, you kind of want to make the store look full, but you don't want to overwhelm people, and you've got to make sure that we're really able to find people are able to find what they want. Right? There's no point going into a massive superstore and being blindfolded and say, go find what are you looking for, right? It's impossible. So making sure that we're not putting people off in that sense, is exactly key.
So I'm going to ask you a last question, and then I'm going to, while you answer, I'm going to check out the live question people are asking online. So this is stressing, right?
no, it's
so
live.
Yeah. So there's a last question about the data marketplace. One question is that is it already in beta somewhere live? And is there already a business partner procuring that marketplace right now?
No, nothing is being done in the sense behind closed doors. Is it in beta now? Well, obviously our sort of developers are fiddling with it and building it and creating it and working with it and programming it right now. In effect, why we haven't done a sort of soft launch, if you want, is actually because Consensus said, look, if you want to be on the main stage, you've actually got to launch it on the day, which is a little nerve-wracking for everyone involved. But I think that was sort of worth the gamble that, if we're going to do this and have a big launch at Consensus, we can't just, soft launch this 3 weeks or a month before. We've got to do it on the day. So yes, our partners are working with us, and they've been onboarding and making sure that all works. So that's what if we're working in private, that's what we've been doing. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So Amandine, you've been looking through the newer questions.
You need to give me a few more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just see if there are any other questions that we've got that I haven't answered, I wonder. Because it's been... and let me also give you maybe some more context. Like, look, so when it comes to Consensus, we're taking, I think, about 15 people from the team, but maybe slightly more. We've also got our partners, and in all, we have booked out 33 tickets. So you can imagine how many tickets our partners are also taking, which is roughly half of them. And they're going to be in our pavilion, and they're going to have their own booths and their own sort of display spaces there. So that's also, I think, pretty exciting. We're going to do things in and around. That week in New York is also really interesting. It's not just Consensus itself, which is the main event, but also it's like Blockchain Week, sponsored itself by the New York City Economic Development Council, if I've got that right. And that means, New York City itself is basically sort of helping to support all of this, which is great, because they've really fallen behind with the bit license back in, I think it was 2015. I can't remember when the bit license was introduced. or maybe even 2013. But that really killed New York's relationship with devs in the blockchain space. So they're looking to, in a sense, change their reputation around this. So there's also the Token Summit, which is just after. We'll be attending that in a smaller capacity. I think we'll kind of be exhausted after putting on a really big show on the Wednesday. And then before that, we'll obviously be meeting with partners. I think someone also asked about partnership with Golem. Both Amandine and I previously worked, Amandine sort of briefly and me for a bit longer for Golem. And so that connection is live, it's well. We should congratulate them on their launch of their main sort of mainnet product. It's so good to see that out, actually, because I know just having been there how difficult it is to actually create a decentralized network from scratch, get it out, and get it into the world and make sure that it works. So that's great. They've been doing really well, and we're going to meet them in New York as well for brunch. We're going to meet them in Consensus. They're going to be coming to our pavilion. So everything's alive and well on that. On the technical front, I think we're going to use Consensus as a moment to really discuss what's going on, especially now that they've been very much absorbed with getting this mainnet launch out. I think they can turn their attention, and Julian can turn his attention to a few other projects, including ours, and how to make that work technically. So, anything else?
So we have a few questions. I just would like to mention that the technical question, I'm not even going to ask them because I know it's really technical, and you better join Rocket or ask us on the different platform. we haven't invited or plan to invite one of our developers today, so we will try to answer.
Well, and we didn't want to invite Henry in case this all went horribly wrong. But he'll be, and the rest of the other, we'll do a dev AMA at some point, right? So
we'll try to organize that.
Yeah.
Well, I have an interesting question here about hiring. And Remy is asking about if Streamr has been or is going to hire more people in the coming weeks or in the last weeks.
Yeah, we're going to have news about that as I sort of mentioned just a bit earlier in transmission. Hi, Remy, by the way. And can I say, I love the Telegram group. It's so lively. I mean, both that and Streamr Moon Talk. Thank you so much to all the people who helped moderate that. It's not just us, obviously. It's become a really wonderfully lively place, so thank you for that. We've actually gone from, I think, 10 people at the start of the year in January. I think you were the 10th or 11th person that we hired.
Yeah, I think that's
right.
Yes.
You remember back in January when we had our meeting in Zurich?
Maybe I was in number 12 or
it's something
really
like
close
that.
to 10.
Yeah. And I think I was the 10th or something. And we've gone from that to at least 25. I can't even count them at the moment. We've hired so many people. And I think what's been really key to our hiring strategy is we're hiring really senior people. People with sort of a broad set of skills and some real experience. Carl Rodriguez, for example, has got 20 years sort of building not just marketplaces, but working in data and in big data. That's sort of fabulous experience. We've got another person in our partnerships team, Anders, who's also had 40 years of experience working in engineering and working with big companies and helping transform their IoT operations. We've got someone else new to announce. That's for Henry to do. A couple more people who are new to announce and that. And so we've got lots of people, and having senior people means that when we really need to expand, then it just makes life a bit easier because we can hire people with perhaps a little less experience to do that work for us as well and come on board.
We also have hired a number of developers that have been briefly announced in the dev updates, right?
That's right.
But we haven't made a specific announcement for every one of them because we hired many people in the development team. So they are in the dev update and they appear there. But
and Juha, for example, and Jarno in Streamr Labs have been really key in making sure that our demos are going well, but also our relationships with our key partners are sort of progressing. and those integrations are working really well and smoothly. And some of the developers we've hired are not necessarily full-time. They're there to give us extra capacity, whether it's from the design side, the UI, UX side, in building the marketplace. So, we also need to remain a bit flexible in making sure we're not just hiring, everyone around us. So we've been sensible with that, I think.
Yeah, I confirm, definitely. I have many questions popping right now. So,
how are we doing on time, by the way?
Oh, good question. I think we're doing fine.
Okay. Yeah, we've got another 15 minutes at least. Yeah.
Yes. So there are some question about the type of data streamed that will be available and potentially will be able to be into the marketplace. So the question is more about the limit. Is there any limit in terms of the type of data that will be available?
So I'm always fascinated by this answer when Henry tells me that we really can do all types of data. So again, it's a bit more of a technical question, but by real-time data, we mean data that is produced regularly at an event, and things that, we can even do, what's a technical word for it, but we can do, words along with numbers if you want. That's a very basic way of saying what I'm trying to say, but there's a fancier set of jargon for it. But yeah, we really can. I think, they've been working on the Streamr engine and editor for a long time. It's the engine really that's key to all of this since 2011. So it isn't, something that's just kind of been created yesterday. And it was built to deal with all kinds of data, not just specific kinds. And I think this sets us out from some of the other competitors out there. We can do everything in that sense. And people who come to us are constantly amazed. I'm just on the sidelines of some of these conversations myself. But when these partners come and they talk to our developers and they talk to Henry, they're amazed. They're like, really, you can do all of this? And they're like, yeah, we can. And I think we managed to sign one of our big global partners on that basis, that we really could. We were just really easy to integrate with. In a sense, Henry's putting out this blog post. It can be done by developers on the other side. So it doesn't need to be done by us. And that's the whole point of having a decentralized system. It's easy to do. And anyone can do it. It doesn't need to be, have a special team to do it. Otherwise, you'll never really be decentralized.
You mentioned that some blog posts could be done by some partners. And actually, I have several people asking about the partnership that we already announced, not just those that we are going to announce, but also those that we already announced. And if we can just tell more about Electrify, IOTA, or Zipper that we already announced previously, if there were any news, or if we can just share more information on what the partnership consists in, or how does this work.
So let me say some things that maybe I shouldn't say again. Amandine,
do you want to get some water before?
I just had to say it. Zipper have actually been rebranded as Zippy now, and they're really coming out with something in the next couple of weeks. I think it's really worth watching them. We're obviously one of their major partners in not just from a technical side, because that's not necessarily true, but more from a kind of, what does this phone do for you? Well, here's something that can, in a sense, give you money back to the data that you generate, and will be right at the core of the phone and the phone software sort of interface. That's really key, because mobiles are something that everyone carries, and they're one of the biggest data generators sort of out there. So that's really important, that partnership. It's something that we haven't talked about for a while, because it's something we did back in sort of December, maybe a little bit earlier. But they're coming back on the scene in a big way in the next couple of weeks. You won't miss it. You'll have to close your eyes and live in a cave for a while in order to do so, I think. If what the discussions that I had with them last week were really very fascinating. VTT are again just a really big R&D powerhouse, and I think what was missed in some of that was that it's Streamr that they're moving into blockchain with, right? It's kind of they've got 2,500 employees. They've got some amazing patents, thousands of them on their books, or more than 1,000 if you want. They've got a huge budget, and they haven't got into blockchain yet. It took us, in a partnership with us, to get them into into public blockchains, if you want, and to using cryptocurrencies to actually transact, right, and utility tokens, if you want. So we did that with them, and that's I think that's great, right? They picked us to do that with, and that says a lot for us, I think, as well as them. Electrify, I love those guys. Tim and who's their press guy, and Sean, who's their CTO. Some really fascinating people. Streamr Labs is really taking that on, and they're a really ambitious project. But they've got the technical know-how to be able to do this. They're already saving people money. They're already going out into Singapore, where they're based, and making that work for them. We've got a couple of power pods now, I think, shipped to us. They're in Helsinki at the moment, and one of our new hires is now managing that relationship, and that's going to be fascinating. So it's a lot there. Ruby also has some news, but I can't share that with you now.
Okay.
I'll let them do that.
Thanks. Okay, I also have one question here from Ryan that have been asking the question several times in the chat, so I'm going to ask it. No worries. It's about micropayments. So do we plan to do any micropayments? And I'm going to link that to also previous question that was about having our own blockchain. Is it something that we were thinking about?
No, we're not thinking about our own blockchain. Again, that fits in with our philosophy that, look, why would we sit here trying to invent everything from scratch? Whether, it's our own kind of cryptographic hash function or a blockchain, or just there's so many things that already exist out there that work. Why would we try and invent all of this stuff from scratch? To me personally, it's a ridiculous philosophy. But more importantly to Henry, it's like, look, we're used to living in the real world, and we'll make what's out there work for us, rather than the other way around. Micropayments, you have to elaborate a bit more, because I think the whole point of cryptographic tokens and the blockchain is that they allow for microtransactions. I mean, so my background's in media, and having worked for The Guardian, I can remember those conversations about microtransactions 8 years ago now, where people are like, oh, if only we could charge people 1 penny for each article they could read, we'd be millionaires, and The Guardian wouldn't have all these funding problems. We now have something that can solve that, right? That is what the blockchain does. People haven't really got this. It's not just about transferring value. It's about transferring value. I'm getting a phone call. Oops, I did not switch that off like I was supposed to. So we can now transfer value on those really small levels. So you'd have to clarify what microtransactions are, but as long as you've got banks out of the picture and you're not using Visa, and someone doesn't want to take a cut of those transactions, then yeah, sure, we'll be talking about 0.01 cents if you want, or that should be quite normal.
Ryan, also, I suggest you have a look at our FAQ section in the website, because we kind of answer already this question when we compare ourselves to IOTA, explaining the difference in terms of technical differences. And here you seem to also ask about this comparison, so maybe you should check it out. You can find some answers there. So I think that's it.
Okay.
We answered quite a few questions today.
Yeah.
And
I hope I didn't ramble on for too long. We got through enough.
Well, let us know.
Yeah, indeed. Well, don't let me know. So
if you still have a question that we haven't answered because we are running on time, or we haven't seen it, because that's quite possible with all the chat or everything, just feel free to join one of our channels, because we are going to be able to answer on them all the time. We are there quite a lot. So if you have technical question, it will be on Rocket Chat. But we can also make the link and ask for you to the dev team. And
remember, the next big event is obviously Consensus. So
Consensus, yeah.
3 weeks, Wednesday, 16th of July. 10 past 10 is the exact time they've given us for when Henry takes to the stage and gives his presentation and presses go on the marketplace.
10 past 10 New York
New York time.
Yes, that's important to say.
Which is actually a pretty good time actually for everyone in Europe. It's about 5 hours ahead. It's about 3. It's about 3 o'clock or 3 something.
Yes,
yeah.
Indeed it is. So hopefully we'll see you around. And thank you very much for everyone for asking us the question, because it's always really interesting. We are discussing with the community online, on Twitter, on Reddit, and on Telegram every day. But having the specific question are really interesting, because we can see some people who we don't necessarily see every day, and even the people we see every day on the chat. It's really pretty specific question that we don't necessarily get to answer every day. So it's always quite exciting to hear your questions.
And the next time we do this, we will. We'll get the devs in and.
Devs, maybe Henry.
And Henry,
yes, definitely.
Now we know how to get this functioning properly without serious hiccups.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you.
So thank you for everyone, and we'll see you really soon on all our social media channels. Thank you.